And Mr. Brown said something the other day that I thought was quite fitting, because if between the concert band and the symphonic band, if we could sit there and say everything that we wanted to say, and everything that we felt about them, and everything that, and all the things that they meant to us, we would be here a long time. And it's kind of hard to kind of put things into words, because I know that it's a bittersweet moment for them. And to be completely honest, it's a bittersweet moment for us as well. And so, without further ado, I would like to introduce the four seniors for concert band. The first, okay, that wasn't working. Okay, here we go. The first student that I would like to introduce, from the very first time that I met her, I knew that she was probably one of the most polite, one of the most friendliest people that I had ever met. And as I got to know her and got to know her more and more, I realized how passionate she was about things, about music, about just about everything. When she found something that she really enjoyed, she was very, very, very passionate about it. And it's been such an awesome experience watching her grow as a musician and watching her grow as a leader within the group. I know that if for some reason I'm absent on a day when we rehearse, I know that I can email her and say, I need these people to work on this spot and this spot, and she'll make sure that it gets done. And there's a lot to be said about that. But the thing that I think is most impressive about her is that she's a very, very talented, very, very skillful artist and a painter. And she was showing me some of her work, and I actually have some of her work hanging up in my office. And it just kind of like blew me away to see, because the very fact that she's focusing so much of her dedication and so much discipline that it takes to be both a musician and a talented musician and a talented artist, I feel like says a lot about her. So the first thing that I'd like to introduce is Megan Benson. All right, so Megan is going to Missouri State University down in Springfield, and she's going to be majoring in art education. So congratulations to her. The next person that I would like to introduce, when he came in, he was one of two baritone players in the concert band. And the other baritone player was older than him, and so he came in as a freshman. And I have this kind of thing when it comes to the concert band when they come in, because they play in their little reserved bubble. And I say, you can't do that here. You don't play reserved, you don't play timid, you play like I need a first chair player in every single chair. Okay? And he was very, very kind of really, really quiet and really kept to himself. And I thought that I scared him a little. But the really weird thing was that, I put him in these really, really stressful situations during concerts. Tonight, for example, he had a solo tonight. I put him in these really stressful situations, and although that he is kind of quiet and keeps to himself, every single time he's been put in that situation where he had to deliver, he always did. And I think that he enjoys those moments tremendously, and it's because of those moments that I feel like that him and I, we would have conversations about what his goals were after school and through school and what he wanted to do, and I attribute a lot to that, to his kind of fearless attitude. So the next person I'd like to present is Tyler Frick. All right, and he is going to be going to St. Louis Community College and studying automotive maintenance. So congratulations, Tyler. He's already shaking his head at me. So before I introduce him, as a director, it's only natural that you're kind of hardest on the section of the instrument that you play. I mean, ask Mr. Brown, and you can say the clarinets are yes, Mr. Brown is very, very hard on us. This person being a trumpet player, when he came in, he was, again, really, really shy, and I was like, okay, trumpets, you have to play it like this, you have to play it like this. the really weird thing is about this person is that and what I really enjoyed about working with him is that he always gave me eye contact. So anytime I was talking to trumpets, he would look at me like I was talking specifically to him all the time. And sometimes I was, but other times he was just like, okay. And what I realized in that eye contact was that he was eager to improve. And I could tell, there's this twinkle in his eye that he's like, I want to be pushed. I want you to push me to be better. And I pushed him. And he got better, and then he went and he pushed some more. So I pushed him more, and I kept pushing him. And today he has turned into a fine trumpet player. He has turned into a fine leader. And one of the things, you probably don't know this, but I'm going to tell the story anyway. Earlier on this semester, concert band was dismissing. He came up to me and said, "Mr. Kramer, do you care if I have a practice with the trumpets during a lunch?" And I looked at him with the biggest smile on my face, and I said, "You never have to ask me permission to practice, ever." And that says a lot about him and his dedication to the program and dedication to the section. So the next person I'd like to introduce is Kyle Gang. Last singer I'd like to introduce is, Kyle. Sorry, I messed up. Sorry. Kyle's going to be attending Southeast Missouri State University and majoring in accounting. So, all right. The next person I'd like to introduce, has probably one of the most outgoing, outspoken personalities I feel like that I have had the pleasure of working with. And she's a flute player, so she sits right in front of me, and she always has the biggest smile on her face, and she's always eager to get better and always eager to play. But the fun thing about this person is that when I trade jabs back and forth, during transitions and stuff, she'll make a joke about me, and I'll make a joke about her, and then make a joke about me. And at the very beginning of the semester, I was, freaking out about something that I was doing, because I do that a lot. And I was sitting here trying to make this point, and I stopped talking, and she didn't even skip a beat. She said, "Hey Kramer, just out of curiosity, how many cups of coffee have you had today?" And I said, 2 cups too much. Okay, 2 cups too much. So, but her outgoing personality is something that people have always gravitated toward, and it is something, and her friendly and positive personality, and the fact that she is always smiling and that she is always inclusive of people, and is always willing to include them and always willing to work with them to improve them, is something that is very, very special about her, and something that I like about her immensely. So the next person I'd like to introduce is Casey Myers. And Casey is going to be going to Iowa State University and majoring in aerospace engineering. Yeah! So about 7 or 8 years, we're all going to be going to Mars in a rocket that she invented. All right, and she did get, and she also got an academic recognition scholarship award worth $22,000. So, and that is the 2018 Concert Band Seniors. Thank you very much.
Okay, setting this microphone up. When I was a kid, some of you all can remember this. Wolfman Jack was my idol. I used to want to be Wolfman Jack, so I would record myself when I'd play records and do the transitions. And this is what this feels like right now. So I feel like a disc jockey. All right. Okay, so now we get to the Honor Band Seniors, and just to reiterate one thing that Mr. Kramer had said, this night is unfair. this is not a fair night for us because this is a night that we essentially publicly say goodbye to our seniors who are in this program. And you know, the success that we have as a group is really contingent on the leadership from within. And really, a good portion of my job is really just essentially a traffic cop. I kind of point, sometimes I yell, I blow a whistle, but really there has to be internal momentum. And the successes that you see from this year, and you can even argue that is superficial, because a trophy is something that stays here. You guys don't get to keep it. It collects dust, but the memories, the thoughts, the things that are intrinsic, that's the real reward. And you know, this senior class, especially, is one of those senior classes that has never let me down. And I've asked and kept asking and demanding, and they kept coming through. So, you know, we go through the ceremony to release them into this world, and it's with a happy heart, but a sad as well. So, keeping that in mind, you know, I want them to leave, but if they happen to fail English and I have them again for another year, that's okay. I mean, you know, not really. But they are special, and in their own rights, you know, I always believe when you come through this program that it means something. Because, you know, we're gonna test you, and we're gonna see what you're made out of. And there are people that we lose along the way. And the ones that stick are the diehards. They're the ones that are gonna change the world. So the ones that you see on this ramp, they're the ones that are going to make a difference. So I'm 49, I'm over the hill. I'm past that point. So the best that we've got and the best future we've got is what we have coming up. All right, so let's go ahead and start with our seniors. And this first gentleman, his coach called me at 6 o'clock and said he's got a tennis match and he's trying to hurry up and beat the people, and what time do you need him at the concert? I said, as long as he just comes in a little bit before 7, that's okay. So I think they won the first match tonight, and you lost the second, right?
I had to throw the second.
Oh, he had to throw the second. But we're going to pretend that we're going to pretend they overpowered you, which I think they did. So, as you can see, we always have a comedian in every group, so. So Andy Buckles, I'm going to go through their college and awards first, and then I'm going to talk a little bit about them. So the talk that I give about them, and I mentioned this to the kids the other day, it doesn't warrant the number of years and what you've given to this program. It's just something that I hopefully know that is personal to them, and they acknowledge, you know, what they've done and what they've given, and that it's important to us. So Andy Buckles is going to Webster University, he's majoring in computer science. And very impressive. He has a Webster Gold Scholarship for $19,000, a Webster Leadership Scholarship for $2,000, and he has a Webster's A+ award for $1,000. So quite a bit of money last year. One of the beautiful things about our program is I get the opportunity to meet the kids when they're very young, in 6th grade. I remember vividly Andy in 6th grade. He would always sit on the first row. Well, plus his name started with a B, so that helped. But I think intentionally he would sit on the front row because he didn't want to miss anything. And based on that, how he played exemplified that. As a beginner in 6th grader, he excelled right away. He's one of those kids, as I mentioned earlier, was at a tennis match. He just submerged himself in school. Countless number of activities, senior exec, and all kinds of things that he does, and just submerged himself in school. And I believe has had probably one of the most positive school experience as a whole, anybody here. As a senior clarinet player, excellent leader, has done an amazing job on the field for us. I always see him during tap making use of his time, studying, doing this. Hey Brown, can I go do this? Can I go do that? Sure. Got his Eagle Scout Award this year as well. And Andy could have gotten multiple kinds of awards because he is that kind of kid. But I was just curious one day, and I looked on to SIS to see what his grades were, and it kind of blew me away. So as busy as he is, the amount of activity, the things that he does, this or that, he's in band, now doing tennis, and multiple other things. He has a GPA of 4.04 weighted and 3.842 the non-weighted, and that's really amazing with that kind of activity. And I think fitting of Andy and exemplifying what he is and how he is receiving the Scholar Musician Award. And this next young man, Justin DeCoke, is attending Webster University, doing a business administration. And as of a few weeks ago, he had a scholarship from Webster's the Gorlock Gold, am I saying that right? Gorlock Gold Scholarship for $14,000 at Webster. So that's really amazing, very nice. And the thing about Justin, and he's kind of one of those unseen heroes. That you have to kind of look for him on the field because he's kind of hiding behind a drum. He's hiding behind a drum in the percussion section, marching around on the field. But he's one of those hardcore, diehard kids. And he's been section leader the last couple years in the percussion section, in the drum line. And you guys don't know this, and I'm not sure if I said this to him, but a lot of the music that we picked tonight to play, and this year, was very percussion heavy. So if you notice, we had lots of percussion stuff. And the reason that I picked a lot of that and chose that is because I knew that we had Justin in there who could kind of help organize it and help execute it. Because on any given piece, we're using probably 30 different percussion instruments. And when we would travel, we'd have to make sure we had all of that lined out, and really insurmountable task. But his real talent is when he's got a pair of sticks in his hand as he's playing. So not only as a drummer on the drum line, but in concert band, playing mallets. And Tony Erasmus and I talked about our music at great length back in November, December, and he's like, man, this is really hard stuff. And I'm like, yeah, that's what I wanted. So if we don't make it hard, they're not gonna improve. So, and Justin exemplified that. And even as a beginner, I started him as a beginner in that same class and watched him grow and had that same enthusiasm as a beginner, a 6th grade beginner, that never failed. Playing in jazz band, and in fact, we had a special thing we were doing with show choir, and he picked up trumpet in like a few weeks and played it really well, which is really crazy to do, especially being a drummer. But one of the things that I can always attest when I come out my office door, Justin is always in the band room every chance he can get. And that's pretty special, and it's pretty special watching him play, and the enthusiasm that he has is contagious. So I think receiving the Most Valuable Player Award definitely goes to Justin DeCoke. And the concert is a few weeks earlier maybe than it normally is, and a lot of times, a lot of the kids' scholarships and honors that they're getting don't come in until late. And with this next young man, he emailed me the other day, and I'm so excited to announce these scholarships that he's getting. But Matthew Helbig is going to Rolla, Missouri S&T, studying computer science, and I think he just got these scholarships recently here in the last few days and emailed them to us and told us about it. But A+ scholarship is $1,000, Bright Flight is $3,000 a year, the Curator Scholarship is $3,500 a year, Excellence Scholarship is $1,000 a year, and the University Scholarship at $2,000 a year. So that's really outstanding. And Matthew's kind of one of those quiet workers. He comes in, works hard, doesn't make a fuss. And in fact, I remember kind of joking with him at some point throughout the years, because he would come in early and tighten stands. And so some of you guys are saying, oh, well, that's kind of crazy. No, our stands get loose and they get really flimsy. And the only way you can tighten them is to take your hands and get grease on them. And I think that probably drove Matt crazy. And came in, and I'd see him tighten almost every day. He'd come in and bring wrenches and tighten our stands and just all these kinds of things that I don't need to tell him to do, that he would just see and would just take care of. He's the kind of person always shows up early, always stays late. And one fun thing, which I joke with him, he really got into tarot card reading. And I guess sometimes he sees me as being really stressed. And then he said, Mr. Brown, would you mind if I did a reading on you? And I said, it's okay, as long as it's not a Ouija board, I think I will. And he did a reading on me, and it turned out things were gonna be great. So, but beyond being a hard worker, he always has a sense of humor. And as you can see, also has a very introspective personality. And somebody that does those things on their own without being prompted to, it definitely shows through. And I think it's really fitting with Matt Helbig receiving the Team Player Award. All right, this next young man, and this is pretty exciting here, so I have to kind of go through this. Will Janzer is going to the University of Alabama, Huntsville, studying chemical engineering, and he didn't ride in a mount down here, but I know his mom knows. He has a Charger Excellence Award, and I think it's around $20,000. Is that right, Beth? $20,000 a year. So. Really outstanding job. When Will, and I'm just going to go ahead and say this, so I may make this a little awkward, so I'm sorry, Will, but when he came in as a freshman, he had kind of a tough transition. And I don't think he really liked band. I don't think he really quite liked the kids. I mean, band is kind of crazy. So you have to figure, you come in, it's hot, you're told you have to work harder, told you can't, if you work harder, you're going to get water. And then if I don't like it, we're going to skip the water break. Let's go and do it again. So, the whole experience is kind of weird. And obviously, the kids who are in it are pretty hardcore. I mean, it's a whole nother mindset in itself. And Janzer coming in as a rookie in high school, I don't think he quite got it. And, the kids are yelling at me, they're not marching in step. And then at some point through high school, I remember he would, I guess, had lunch on B-days off and would come down to the band room and we would eat lunch together. Or maybe he was just using the fridge in the band room and I just happened to be there. So, but that really was kind of a pivotal moment for me, especially with Janzer. I felt like I really got to know him better and got to talk to him. And I think maybe a lot of his fears that, we're evil people, maybe subsided. But, and it's created a relationship that's really fun for me. And, I would see him, and I always can joke with him, and just the other day he was at the golfing range, and it made me so happy. He sent me videos of him taking a swing, and I analyzed his swing and sent it back to him. Because I happened to see him at the range a few weeks ago, and I had to leave my daughter to go help with him. And he's that kind of kid. I mean, he's likable, long-lasting personality, just really special. And besides that, he can play. And somewhere through his voyage, he really started to work hard and started to play very well. And he didn't play the solo tonight. Helbig played the solo, but you've heard him throughout the year playing the start of Irish Tune. I turned it into a solo, playing it, and just beautifully. And for a kid, through his voyage, he says, I don't really know if I really like band, I don't like you people. And then to come to a point where he's really doing well and really playing well is really amazing. And being a positive section leader within the section, kind of nurturing the young kiddos along. And and our trumpet section is amazing. There's a lot of music that we picked tonight because of certain strengths, and our trumpet section being one of them. And it's in part because of his leadership. So you guys heard a lot of really difficult trumpet playing this year. And even throughout marching season and concert season, it's because of Will. And I think his personal voyage became contagious for the other kids. So it's pretty special to me and very fun to enjoy. And I haven't heard, you got your Eagle Scout, didn't you? He's very close to his Eagle. I mean, I know he's probably within a step away. So. Oh, I'm sorry. But knowing how he is, and who he is, he's going to get it, and it's going to be great. And this next award is given by the Marine Corps as a soloist award. It's a feature soloist award. It's called the Semper Fidelis Award. It's a very old band award, and I think it'd be fitting in giving Will Janzer the Semper Fidelis Award. And this next young man, in fact, he just told me where he was going to college. Was it a day ago, or was it today? Yesterday. And he didn't quite know where he was going. And it wasn't because he was procrastinating. It was because he was applying for, I know the Air Force Academy. Were you applying for the Navy Academy too? He was applying for the Naval Academy and the Military Academy. So he was waiting to get his final results on that. Unfortunately, he did not make it. And he's ended up going to Webster. And I talked to him today. I go, you're studying in international business? And that's a huge change from going into the Military Academy. And knowing Nick Callbeck, anything that he sets his mind to, he's going to do well. So he's going to Webster, studying international business, German language and literature. Also, he's going to help his parents out quite a bit. He also has a Webster Gold Scholarship for $18,000, a Bright Flight for $300, and the A+ Scholarship for $1,000. So that's very nice. And Nick has been a difficult kiddo to kind of figure out, especially his freshman year. Because one of the things I remember vividly, 4 years ago asking his dad, it's probably the first few weeks of band, and I said, how is Nick enjoying it? His dad goes, well, as much as any 14-year-old can enjoy anything. And that's really fitting, but knowing Nick, and knowing that comment, he doesn't really show much emotion. I mean, if he was a poker player, he would do an amazing job because he does not show you any emotion. And a lot of times with Nick, I can't always read him. And it's gotten me in trouble because I've joked with him several times and he would just kind of deadpan me. And then I'm like, whoa, and you got me on that one. But some other things about Nick, and I think it's really fitting. And I wasn't trying to embarrass him that he did get into the Naval and Air Force Academy, and I was really showing it as a testimony of him and the overachiever that's in him. So, he could have said, oh, I'm just going to go to college, but I'm going to try to go for the very best. And if I'm going into the military, I'm going to be a part of the best. We've taken the band to the Naval Academy several years ago, and I have to tell you guys, it's amazing. It's really pretty incredible. So that being one of his goals is a testimony to him and what he's about. And he is a quiet worker. He's back there just taking care of things. He does have amazing ability. And in fact, one of the things, and I talked to his dad after our performance at Tantera, and he said Nick was so excited, which I could not see this on his face, but he said Nick was so excited because he had a big solo in Irish Tune. I mean, it's a huge, well-known, famous solo, and he hit it out of the park. And he knew it. And, it's intoxicating. And you know, when you can hit that level of excellence, it's intoxicating. It's almost a drug. And you know, maybe that's why I'm a band director, because I'm still kind of in this quest for that feeling. And I want to feel that more and more. So, you know, he's outstanding leadership within the group. You know, our French horns play very well. And a strong part of it is his leadership. He's got his little brother. I don't know how you guys are with siblings, but his little brother is in the French horn section. And you know, it's always so cute because he provides, well, siblings, you know, they kind of degrade their other sibling, especially the younger one, or I did. And he just kind of took him under his wing. Hey, let's kind of go, showed him the ropes. And, you know, it's really an amazing relationship for you guys to see and for me to see it every day. And, you know, I'm so proud of him. Playing in jazz band, actually learned some trumpet to play in jazz band. You got to hear him play and just doing a great job with that. So, Nick Kalbeck, I think it's fitting of him receiving the first chair award. And this next young lady, I can talk about, she's going to Missouri S&T, majoring in mechanical engineering, and receiving the trustee scholarship for $3,500 and the university scholarship for $2,000, and that's Katie McDonald. One of my earliest memories of Katie, and I remember her from middle school, she was always kind of the quiet, serious kid. Now I get accused of kind of being that kid, but you all may see me, and I may have like a really resty, mean face, but I'm really not. It's just kind of my look. So I'm working on that. My wife has suggested Botox, but that it would make me look nicer. But that's kind of how I remember Katie in middle school. Really serious looking, really focused, really directed. And I remember her coming into 8th grade, and I got a call from her mom or an email, and I talked to her, and her mom was just kind of concerned about her transition to high school band, if she could do it, if it would be too much pressure for her, and so on and so on. And really quickly, after a couple weeks, I mean, Katie was thriving. And you know, that says things about kids and their growth and development, and what's internally in them. And that represents Katie. I mean, she is persistent, and she is an intense person, an intense personality, an interior desire for perfection. And she's a great clarinet player. The thing that I have to add, and I'm not trying to offend any of our other clarinet players, but you know, when we're performing for 700 band directors across the state, it's a little nerve-wracking. And you know, I'm not going to lie, I'm you know, probably in need of therapy and all that, and I'm a little uptight. And probably if there's a section in the music that we're not playing very well, such there's this really exposed skip in Irish tune that the clarinet players have to do. And we get, all clarinet players play very well, and I'm a clarinet player. So I could show them do this, do this, do this, and then some of the other people couldn't do it. And then I was having a breakdown mental moment one day, and Katie just came and played it, popped it out. This was 2 days before the convention. And we weren't playing it well. And Katie just nailed it. We had a pre-concert, and she played it. Oh wait, no, she didn't play it. It was the week of, like a day before. And I was a little bit of a nervous wreck, because everybody would know that, and me as a clarinet player, my clarinet should be able to do that. And Katie came through for us. And after the concert, it was that moment that you're really scared. And she just hit it. I mean, the most gorgeous skip performance. I mean, could not have played it any better. And in fact, I was so moved by it. I mean, I caught her after the concert and gave her a hug. It was probably not a hug for you, but I was just so relieved. I gave her a big hug because there was a lot of pressure there. And the very thing that her mom was concerned about her doing, being able to handle the pressure, she came through beautifully. And I think that's going to exemplify Katie through her life. So I'm just so happy And I think it's fitting receiving the Band Pride Award is Katie McDonald. And this next young man, Blaine McVeigh, is going to Webster University, and I know one of his goals, he wants to become a politician. Is that right, Dave? Oh, he wants to be president. Okay. There might be an opening soon. So he's going to Webster to study political science, also concentrating in pre-law. And I think as of the last couple days, he told us of some of the scholarships that he got. It's going to help his family out. The Webster Gold Scholarship, which is right around $18,000, and Bright Flight, which is right around $1,000. So that's really great. Congratulations. And Blaine has been a very positive force in band. And he's an amazing player, great player, and there's a suspension in Irish tune I always look to him that he has, and it's always that moment where I just kind of have that moment where I look at him and he knows that I know that he knows that I know. It's that kind of moment, and always happens, whenever he's gone, I feel like an empty, hollow cavity right where my heart should be. But one of the things about Blaine that is always exceptional. He's always brightens your day. And there aren't a lot of people that do that. And just around him, he's always positive. Even when things are bleak, he always finds a way to kind of find a little bit of humor in things. And that's really special about him. Beyond the music, he can play, I can brag all day about his music, but that mannerism about his character and about his person really, I think, allows him to excel. Because basically, Blaine says, hey, I'm not going to sweat the small stuff. Everything is small stuff. And when you can do that, you're going to be successful in anything that you do. And you're going to change some people's lives around you in the process. And I think Blaine is that kind of person. And there are a number of kids in the band that within the senior class that they're sorry to see them go, because they are those kind of inviting people, those kind of people that embrace people and that just generally love people. And to me, Blaine exemplifies that. And I can't say enough good about him. I'm going to miss him, and I think it's fitting receiving the Band Pride Award. Blaine. Now, this next young man, I've had numbers of conversations with him on this, because the kids to me are an extension of my family, and I hold them close to me. There are graduates that come back and they tell me things, and the graduates come back and do two things. One, when they're doing really well, and when they're doing really poorly. And a lot of times when they're doing really poorly, I'm sorry, parents, I really tell them what I think. And a lot of times it's not very good. And there have been some past graduates through the years I have kicked out of the office when they have come to see me because they refuse to listen. And people get to that point in their lives. Now, with Tanner, I've been discussing with him. I've been talking with him. And the thing that worries me, of all else, is something happening to our kids. Either now, later in the future. And that's just kind of how I am. So, you as a parent, that's going to happen with you and your kid, and it's going to happen with me. But when I first met Tanner, the thing that I could tell about him really quickly is his focused ability and how hard he works. One of the things that's amazing about him, when Tanner has something in his head, he does not deviate from that. And there's no changing that. He is very, can you call it stubborn?
Yes.
Okay, we'll call it stubborn. And he came to me and said, Mr. Brown, I want to go into the military. Now, with every one of my students going to the military, I come to them and said, something bad could happen to you. have you thought about this? He goes, yes, I'm okay with that, Mr. Brown. I go, I'm not. Let's talk about this some more. And you know, he's not been swayed on it. And you have to respect that. And you have to respect his ability to know that bad things can happen to him. And even that, not changing. And the epitome of his personality and his demeanor has made him an outstanding musician. I mean, you know, Tanner can play. I mean, he plays amazing trombone. We moved around to baritone. He's playing some tuba. I mean, basically anything we need him to do, he's there to do. And, you know, I think that's going to be fitting for him. And he's going into the Army. He's actually started training right now. So he's doing push-ups and running massive amounts that he needs to. And that shows his focus and that shows his dedication. So when he gets something, despite what Mr. Brown can say to him or anybody else, he is going to do what he wants to do. And at the end of the day, that's what it's about. And if I can talk a kid out of doing something, they probably shouldn't do it. If I can sway them on it, especially something like that. So it's a really amazing character he has, a really amazing thing about him. He's an example, I believe, of dedication, of ability, and strong work ethic. And you heard him playing earlier in honor band. You also heard him playing with the concert band. And you know, Tanner is one of those amazing people. And I believe receiving, and this being a fitting for him, receiving the most versatile award is Tanner Pease. And this next young man, I remember him from middle school because he was one half of a twin. So he has a twin sister, and she's coming right after him. Now, when Andrew Oakes was in middle school, he was kind of quiet. So I knew him, but didn't. And then we had the first day of band, and I remember it very vividly when we had brought the kids in for freshman clinics, because he had this big giant hole in his leg. And he was out there marching. And I was like, oh my gosh. Like, did you fall on your bike or something? Was that it? Oh, his pedal went through his leg. And was in marching band and just had it bandaged up. And he was out there limping around marching. I'm like, are you sure you want? He goes, oh yeah, I'm okay. And that's kind of the epitome of him. I mean, he's the kind of kid that won't quit. And, you know, when you have those people that have those kinds of personalities, I mean, you embrace it, you cherish it. And I think Andrew is one of those kind of people. It's what made him a really great sax player. Yesterday, he was one of the kiddos playing at state. You heard him soloing with the jazz band, just doing amazing solo work. He also plays percussion. We needed some percussionists and some drummers, and we said, hey, Andrew, can you come in and play? And he was like, and then he came in and excelled at it. And just, you know, playing the quad, you'll see him in marching band, and just doing an amazing job. And I think that's fitting of him. Things that he really focuses on and really puts his mind to, he's going to excel, especially musically. And I'm going to miss Andrew. He's been a very positive force in the program, in jazz band, concert band, marching band, all facets of the program. This next award that I'm going to give is probably the single oldest band award there is. And this goes back, way back to really the start of band. And the John Philip Sousa Award is the award that's given to the most outstanding musician in band. And, you know, not to brag, but I received that award when I was in high school. And Miss Brown, my wife, she received that award. Jessie Colvin, who's a band director, who performed at the Cardinal game with us, her kiddos. And there have been a number of students that come through. Emily Fiasco, who... Oh, Mr. Kramer, sorry. But this is the oldest band award, and this award given to really the musician in the band that is truly, truly outstanding. So Andrew Oakes Earhart receiving the, oh wait, I'm sorry, I forgot to write where he's going to school, so hang on one second. He's going to St. Louis Community College in Merrimack. He wants to do firefighter, paramedic, and he's received the Compton Heights Band Scholarship Award. And then along with it, yeah. And along with that, receiving the John Philip Sousa Award is Andrew Oakes. And this next young lady is obviously the second half of the Oakes clan, and they shared a womb together for a portion of the time. And I was funny with Marissa the other day. I said, "You were probably in the womb punching your brother, weren't you?" And she said, "Yes, probably." But Marissa Oakes is going to St. Louis Community College, and she studied biology. And she's also playing in the Compton Heights Concert Band and received the Compton Heights Concert Band Scholarship as well. And that's a yearly. And Marissa is one of those kiddos that, as a freshman or sophomore, played Irish tune in band. And she was one of those kiddos that was kind of bugging me, saying, "Mr. Brown, can we play it? Can we please play it?" I'm like, "No, go away." And she was persistent and kept on it. And you know, one thing that's interesting about her, and I'm just going to say it, Marissa. So she's one of those people that has made me very angry at her through the years. And what's amazing about her is, as angry as I got at her, her efforts and her desire, and then her ability to improve and change was equally strong. So when you have those kind of people that, you know, they're a little feisty inside, it's not always a bad thing. And for her and for the program, it's not. She was one of those people that excelled and was persistent. And I saw that this year when she would come and ask me all the time, "Can we play Irish tune, because she really wanted to play the solo in Irish tune. And you know, I was kind of mean to the kids when they would come to me and say, "No, we did that. That band was way better than this group." She's, no, we're much better. I go, "No, you're not." So yeah, that first rehearsal, I was a little crabby. It really motivated him to improve. But Marissa is one of those people, loves playing, loves making music, a hard worker, and she was another one of those kiddos that I caught after MMEA and made a special point. I didn't do this in front of the band, but I pulled her aside and said, "You know, on that day, that solo that you played on Irish tune was beautiful, just gorgeous." And it really made that section of the piece for me. And you know, the CD is in my car. I listen to it every day, every ounce of it. And that spot I love. So, you know, Marissa is kind of a private person. She doesn't really talk a whole lot, but her desire for excellence and desire to achieve is very apparent. And I think Marissa receiving and this person was a predecessor of John Philip Sousa. So the Patrick S. Gilmore Band Award, Sousa was the first big commercial, but Gilmore was probably the second starter of the band. This is a very old band award. And I think it's really said something to the Oakes Earhart family that two of the kiddos are receiving one of the high music awards in the band program. So Marissa Oakes Earhart receiving the Patrick S. Gilmore Band Award. And this next young man, Cameron Perry, was planning on going to St. Louis Community College in Merrimack next year and major in special education. I remember Cameron from middle school, and one of my earliest memories of him, especially where I kind of got to meet his parents a bit, is when they were doing a scholarship or a fundraiser for him. I think through the church, and he was having colloquial implants put in, and they're very expensive. I think I heard a number somewhere along the way. It's quite a huge number. And then my understanding, basically, without these implants, he really can't hear very well, if any at all. And I track the kids in the program. So all of your kids who come through the program, I kind of know them, know things about them, and I wasn't quite sure how it was going to work with Cameron. And my wife, I've had countless conversations with my wife about it when he's coming to middle school. I was like, do you think he could do it? Would the volume affect his implants, or he won't be able to hear, won't be able to this or that? So I was very concerned about it. And I remember having a conversation with his mom when he was coming in. And she says, no, I think he says he can do it. And they can kind of adjust things and find the right balance of things to make it work. And I said, okay, let's go for it. And I think the thing and I can talk about Cameron's musicianship and his ability, and it's amazing. I mean, there is, by far one of the outstanding musicians in the band. But I think even more impressive is with the setbacks that he's had, that he has come in and thrive in the program. Because he doesn't hear things necessarily the same way that somebody else does. And I just think it's amazing. I remember I believe it was his freshman year, he was playing timpani, and he has to tune the timpani. And we were in Western Illinois, and a retired band director from LSU, Frank Wicks, he's kind of a jerk, was working with us. And then he started working with Cameron, and I'm like, oh God, he's gonna pick on his tuning, he's gonna pick on something. And we were playing a really difficult piece, Elegy for a Young American, and he tuned it amazingly. I mean, it was perfect. And Wicks even stopped and said, good boy. And I'm like, okay, but that's my memory, and that's going to be my lasting memory of Cameron. And not to leave his musicianship, his ability out, but he's that kind of kid that's going to go above and beyond. And somebody that can do that and have that within him, and the trials and setbacks that he's had. And there's one other story, I'm sorry I have to share this. He had like surgery on his nose, and basically they kind of, what did they do? They broke your nose or something? What did they do?
They took some cartilage out.
Yeah, and then he came to band that a couple days later, and he had this huge giant bandage on his face and his nose, and he was bleeding from his nose basically for several days. And he came, we had a concert the next day, and he was adamant at home, I'm going to do this concert, adamant. And he was probably fighting with his parents, because his dad brought him down to me and said, Mr. Brown, he's concerned, but said, and I go, stay home. You're bleeding from your nose. If I was bleeding from my nose, I would stay home too. I said, we've got plenty of other concerts. And that's him. I mean, that is the epitome of him. So it just makes me so happy that I can talk about him and talk about him in this way. And it's just amazing. So receiving this award, Mr. Kinnison started this award, and I think this is really fitting for him. It's called A squared plus B squared equals excellence. And the way it translates is A squared means above and plus, and B squared, beyond band, equals excellence. And I think that's Cameron Perry. So. And this next young lady, I remember I met her, we were doing 6th grade band tryout night, and those nights are long. I mean, it was probably 9:45, 10 o'clock or so, and her and her mother came, and I'm sorry, I'm breaking my routine. So let me go through her school stuff first, I'm sorry. Patsy Sloan, and she's going to St. Louis Community College, and she's got an A+ scholarship. So, Patsy may not remember this, but probably she was pretty tired that night. But she came in, and you know, there are those people that you meet that are just different people, that are special. And you can just kind of tell that. They can carry themselves, the questions they ask, the way they react to the things that you say, that they're just different than the average person. And her mother were those kind of people. And they actually I think they kind of stayed after so they could kind of talk with us and visit with us kind of one-on-one. And I found her mom was in band in Houston, and she was a bassoon player. And then, you know, she said, you know, this is my daughter, and we wonder if maybe she could take a look at the bassoon. And, you know, the bassoon is like basically a prehistoric instrument. You know, most of the time we kind of have to beg kids to play bassoon. And for a kid to come in and say, no, I want to play bassoon, I mean, that's pretty special. You're like, yeah, we're going to put a bassoon in your hands right away. And not only that, but through the years, Patsy's really excelled. I mean, she's a really good bassoon player. Our bassoon section, bar none, is outstanding. And some of the music that you heard us pick is because of the low reed section that we have. And, you know, Patsy's a good part of that. Now, beyond her musicianship, beyond her bassoon ability and all that, is she's an amazing color guard twirler. And what's really cool about this, and, you know, we live through our kids. And, you know, if your kids are like, oh, you're living your life through, yes. That's okay. Embrace that. And to those of you guys who aren't, you're missing something. And her mom was in the color guard in high school, and that was kind of the path that Patsy took. And right away was an amazing twirler, very athletic, and eventually worked her way up to be color guard captain. And those of you all who managed to watch the color guards for the past 2 years, you know, they've been very good. Our color guard has been very strong, very well managed, very well organized. And, you know, a good portion of the reason why is because of Patsy and her leadership. And, you know, it's been exciting for me to be a part of, but that's one of the real magics that she has, is her way with people, her calming personality, that she can get the things from people that she needs, and she doesn't disappoint. So, right away, my instinct on her as a 6th grader, 5th grader coming in, was correct. And she was a very special person, and is. And I think receiving the Most Valuable Player Award for marching band / color guard goes to Patsy Small. Now, this next young man, Patrick Steiner, and I'm going to go through his college stuff, is going to St. Louis Community College, major in engineering, and he's also done the A+ scholarship work in receiving A+ scholarship. And I'm just going to go ahead and tell on you. I'm going to go ahead and tell. Okay? So, Patrick was one of those kiddos who, coming through band, kind of had a tough transition coming to high school. And you know, band is a little weird. It's a kind of a whole subculture of personality. There's a whole hierarchy of kids that are basically telling other kids what to do. And you're like, wait a minute, that's not right. And you're like, no, they've got scars on their back, so they've earned the right to tell you. And Patrick had a little trouble adjusting to that, just the whole environment. As we went on, he worked at it, tried hard, things got better and better, and eventually at one point, it's like things totally locked into place. And his maturity as a young man, his maturity as a follower, as a team player, as a group person, which ultimately improved and allowed him to become a really strong leader himself. And if you guys have ever watched the pit in marching band, and you could, because you know, whole part of pit is moving equipment. They come in and play, and they move it someplace. And there has to be people out there who say, okay, you move this here. And for one of those kids that didn't like the kids who were telling him what to do, as a senior, became one of those kids that was one of the traffic cops, that was kind of guiding other kids to do those things. And it's amazing to see that maturity and to see that evolution. Patrick's been an amazing person in band. I mean, an amazing team player. If I need something done, he's always there. And if anything, he's always kind of anticipating my move 2 and 3 and 4 moves ahead of me, which is helpful because sometimes we forget a lot. And Patrick is one of those kids that I believe has exceptional work ethic and energy in what he does, and has just been an amazing voyage. And especially because of the difficulty he had his freshman year. I mean, it's beautiful to see that. And I think this award being fitting of Patrick is the Band Dedication Award. All right, this next young man, Jake Rankin. And Jake is going to Southeast Missouri State and has received, he's going to do music education. He wants to be a band director. So. Now, I'm just going to go ahead, we're airing all of our dirty laundry, so I'm going to go ahead and air some of Wanko's dirty laundry. When he came in as a freshman, he didn't really like band. And, like I said, band is kind of a weird thing, because there's this hierarchy of students, and you're answering to students and held accountable to students, and you're like, man, this is just really kind of weird. They're like pets of mine. But those students have responsibilities that the students around them have to achieve. So, the environment can be kind of weird. And I think for Jake, especially, because he's a very sensitive kid. And when you look at him, he's a big boy. I mean, in a dark alley, I'm running from him. But he's very sensitive and very introspective. So knowing him now, I can see where just that whole craziness of band would just kind of be kind of weird. And I think as he's gotten older, his maturity has grown as such, and then he has come into that leadership position. And I think they took a little different approach. Between him and Janzer, they really kind of took a humorous approach. So going over watching the trumpet sections, I really couldn't do, because it was always kind of a weird, dysfunctional thing. So I just kind of had to walk away hoping that things were getting done. But they were. So, I mean, obviously the trumpet section sounds amazing. What the kids are doing are amazing. And also, students like him, with the ability that he has, makes it happen. I mean, Wanko's an outstanding musician. I mean, you guys got to hear him in jazz band, and he's been in jazz band, is it 3 years, Wanko? 2 years. And right away could come in and improvise really well, had really good musical sense, had really good musical instinct, and even talked to me about doing some independent study. So we were having him doing some theory stuff, and then I said, here, I want you to arrange this piece and do this and do that, and he just jumped at it and did an amazing job with it. So not only playing trumpet, but he's also plays guitar, and doing some arranging, and it's really pretty cool. And that Irish Blessing that you guys heard is really a pretty amazing arrangement that he's done. So I'm excited for Wanko. I'm excited, and obviously you guys can see the kids love him, because he has that kind of personality that people just gravitate to. So I think fitting of Wanko receiving the Director's Award for Outstanding Musicianship is Jake Wanko.